you must have discovered at one point then that you sort of were a creative person, sort of on your own, and not only someone playing the score handed to you.
Yeah, that came quite late. It came through Apocalyptica, because first I started to make the arrangements for us to figure out how to play Metallica with cellos, and then we did the Christmas single of Little Drummer Boy, in '96, I think, and I put a lot of own in there, and then I started thinking maybe I should try to write something own from the scratch, and then I wrote my first piece, which is Harmageddon, which became the first single of second album. It's my very first, like I would call, composition. And I made it, we were spending Christmas at our summer place in the middle of dark forest, and I had this small Casio electric piano. And I made it that and wrote notes. That's how I started to write music.
Okay.
And I was probably, I was 21 years old.
Wow. So that's a late stage to start something like that.
Yeah, I never thought about, because in classical way of thinking, it took me almost 10 years after that I was able to call myself composer. Because to me it was like, to be a composer you have to be something very special, and you have to have the education. So that you just compose music, it doesn't make you composer.
No.
You know, you are not
No,
real.
no,
you know,
I know.
So it took me a long time to get out of that thinking that there are no rules in that either. You know, but I remember that when I was really little, like 5 years old or something, I enjoyed that we had piano at home. I enjoyed to go there in the dark room and put the pedal on and just, you know, like slam the low notes to make this kind of sounds that sounds like an airplane or something. I was super fascinated. That I remember from a very, very early childhood.
I've been there as well.
so it's kind of like totally mesmerized, banging those. Yeah, just making as powerful sound as possible. So.
But then, so Apocalyptica formed when you were what, 19, 18, 19, 20?
Yeah, I was 18 when we played Metallica first time.
Okay, and Paavo and Perttu were buddies at the academy of you?
Yeah, Perttu was not in the beginning. We were playing in the same orchestra, this Vivo youth orchestra. Was Max, Lilia, Paavo, me, and then was Riku-Pekka, who was, we had the same birthday, and he was also like rebel, out of control guy, and we played four of us. That was the first time, and then after that, because me and Max and Paavo, we were at Sibelius Academy, then we played at the student parties and stuff, like a few songs and stuff. Then we got the gig to play at the metal club. That was end of '95. And Paavo wasn't on that gig because he was on some vacation skiing in Lapland, and Perttu was playing there. So we were Antero, Max, me, and Perttu. And then we got the record deal from that. And then Perttu was so young, he was like this kind of super talent kid. So we couldn't take him. We didn't want to ruin his classical career by taking him into that world. He was pretty reckless as well. So then we were Paavo, Max, Antero, and me for first 4 years of the first album. And then Antero wanted to go back to classical, and then we took Perttu back in. And so, but we shared the love to the music, which was pretty cool that we were so many cello players that actually genuinely loved metal music.
Yeah. But there is a connection between the cello and the guitar. They operate in the same sort of emotional territory, I would.
Yeah, it's the same range, pretty much same range, which is the whole human range, and cello is one of the only instruments that you can actually form a band using only one instrument that it still can stay interesting, because it goes low enough and the register is good for that.
So that's a pretty unique. It's like after the piano in terms of range in the orchestra.
Yeah, but the flavors of the piano are more limited in a way. because you basically just hammer the string and you can't pull it. And we can do both on the cello.
Yeah. All right. So then the metal part of your life sort of took overhand almost by coincidence.
It was totally coincidence. It was probably when we were preparing for the third album. That was the time that I kind of wanted to put all in to Metallica. Until that, Apocalyptica, and until that, it was more like, okay, let's see where this goes and try to keep the classical thing moving forward as well. But
so you kind of did it in parallel, for a couple of years.
Yeah, we didn't have so many shows.
No,
the shows were a little bit there and there and there, so there was still time to do the classical stuff quite properly. I kind of didn't go to lessons very much anymore, or didn't do that stuff, but I still played a lot of chamber music and stuff, sometimes in orchestra and.
But you talk about hearing Metallica. You talk about hearing Shostakovich. What else inspired you, and what inspires you these days?
On those times, we had already played Sepultura and other metal music before we got the record deal. But then the guy record company, Kari Hynninen, he was like, let's keep it on Metallica. And the main reason why we did the second album was that we wanted to record also other things. We recorded Fate No More, Pantera, Sepultura, and Metallica, and then came a couple of originals. That was one reason. And second reason why we did the second album was like after first album we started playing more shows, and we found a pickup, which we still use. And then we were like, oh, we sound totally different than the album. We have to make another one. We sound better than the album sounds, So that it was all the time evolving. And then after that, it was like, okay, this is not. We have to, if we want to figure out how we can sound, we have to write original music. And then came Cult's album, which is the third album, which is basically 10 of my songs, compositions, and then a few bonus tracks to Metallica and Edvard Grieg. So it's been all the time evolving very naturally. Sometimes with huge fights with labels and,
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You have to stand up for your visions.
Yeah, but we were all the time like, okay, let's see where it goes, but let's do it as well we can. And I think that's the best recipe in life. Do the thing what you do as good as you can, and don't worry too much about where it's going to lead.
Yeah. If you put your heart into it, it's gonna take you somewhere.
Somewhere, yes, exactly. You don't need to know where.
No.
But it's going to bring you somewhere.
Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was all that kind of stuff. I was very, like metal in a pretty wide range, and also classical music with quite wide range, what I listened to. Not so much other music. For me, it was, I had kind of always said that that only all music in major is shit. So it was only minor music in minor. That's the only music that I allowed in my space.
Okay.
I was also pretty dark.
Yeah.
I was pretty dark kid. But nowadays I listen more some types of electronic music nowadays. I listen a lot of kind of meditation music, or Max Richter, Sleep.
Yeah.
He has this like almost 10-hour long album where nothing happens. And, I like to listen to that kind of stuff when I'm not like, okay, now I want to listen something.
You're since you working with this on a daily basis, your desire to listen and experience music, it's a different relationship.
Yeah.
I don't listen to music when I have off time.
Yeah.
I like silence.
Yeah, I prefer silence as well. And sometimes when I'm like flying now on airplanes, then I put just something easy that I can a little bit meditate, or I read, or I just wander in my thoughts. But that's why I like to go to concerts. because that's the place that you go to really focus on the music.
And I realize that at least once a year, I need to have a concert experience where I go, oh shit, yeah, this is what it's about, you know.
Yeah.
Because I come from a world where I grew up listening to music at home is a very private experience, and you sort of establish a relationship to that album or that artist. You know, that's a very private conversation between me and whoever that artist is.
Yeah.
And going to a concert is more of a, it's a different experience. It's a collective experience, and yes, it's a conversation between what goes on stage and me, someone in the audience. But it's us as a group, and I think that one of the reasons why I realized at one point why I will be good as a producer is because I was just looking for that connection as my direct connection with that music as a private listener.
Yeah.
It's and not I don't not giving a shit about what the rest of the world thinks about it. If I like it, if you do something that connects to me, then we're good.
Yeah.
You know, and then we can leave that particular part and move on to the next thing. But I have to like it.
But that's actually what you say.
Yeah.
That's the best guideline how to operate is like you do it for yourself. Even you do it with other people, but you do it in yourself in terms of that whatever is in your influence area that you have to like it. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
But because that's what you said at the very beginning, how you felt when you were playing music that you didn't like. Why were you able? Why did that feeling become so strong in you that you had to sort of change your path? And the guy sitting next to you in the orchestra did not do that.
That's a good question. I think what I learned about myself, that I think I have always had it, that I need to understand. I need to feel that there's a sense. It makes sense what I'm doing. Well, even it's doing nothing. You know, it's not about that I need to be doing all the time, but it's like whatever I do, wherever I spend my time and focus, that it needs to make sense to me. It needs to have a value of some kind. It can be a value to me through other people as well. That, you know, it has a value to me because it's something I want to offer to other people. But so it's not about being selfish in that sense. But I probably didn't understand. I didn't think about it at a young age from that perspective. But now if I look back, it has something to do with that I have always had this sense of, that comes to the metal attitude. It comes to why certain music resonates. It needs to challenge you. There needs to be always something to, not to accomplish. Accomplish is a little bit wrong word to say it, but there needs to be something that you need to figure out to get to the level. I think it's part of human growth and our human nature is that the key to happiness is basically to do things that are uncomfortable and you don't like but you put yourself into it and you go through into a certain level and that's about the taste as well. That things mean something to you, so you are not careless. And I think most people are just careless. People operate in not very conscious level in that sense, that they accept this is what it is. I'm an orchestra musician, I just have to tolerate. And I think that's actually a big problem in music field as well, that there are too many people in the industry that they have lost the sense of being true to themselves. and they just tolerate, and they don't really care. It's like, but it's okay, you know, I get my pay, and well, I don't really like this job, but I think it's a global phenomenon that people just adapt to that, and they are very unsatisfied because they don't have the feeling of importance on how they spend their time and energy.
Yeah. And I think that it's a very tough job. I mean, your job
yes.
is a really tough job, and making records, which I've been doing for more than 30 years, it's a really tough job.
If people would just know
Yeah.
how tough it is to make a full album.
Yeah, it's brutal, and for every album I've made, it's at the end of it has been like, how the hell did I get through that?
I've been just now being in Stockholm. Sorry to interrupt. Just remembering yesterday I came to Stockholm. I was like, yeah, when we did Words Collide album here in your studio, 2007. I was here almost 4 months, 6 days a week. I flew in from Helsinki the first morning 7 o'clock flight on Monday morning, and then we worked 10 to 12 hours every day, playing like full focus. And then on Saturday evening, last flight, I flew home to see my family for Sunday. Almost 4 months. And then somewhere in between, I made a little flight. I had to go to Tokyo and back, which was insanity. But the amount of focus, 6 days a week, pretty much all the time you are awake.
It's a tough job. But on the other hand, then I also feel extremely privileged to be able to do, you know, where my passion. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege to be able to do it.
Yeah, because there's certain freedom that you have the freedom to choose. You still can choose the project you want to get into.
Yeah.
Because you have the sense that, okay, I have to like it. I have to find it exciting. And that's what I go for.
I have, we're not going to mention any names, but I think on 2 occasions in my career, stepped down from productions that I started working with. And on both these occasions, I went in for the wrong reasons.
What was the reason? Or what would you say? That
I certainly not financial, because I thought it was going to be easier than it was, and I didn't ask myself, you know, is this really what I want to do? You know, is this the project that I want to step into at the moment? And if that feeling isn't there, it means you don't go in 100%. And if you don't go in 100%, it's going to backfire.
Yeah.
It's for certain. At least the way I operate. I don't know. I know other producers, they're juggling several productions at the same time. I could never do that. I can only do one thing at a time, and I have to give it 100% of my attention. Otherwise, we're going to be in deep shit, or I will be, you know.
I think a lot of people, they try to do it differently, but I don't say they are successful in, you know, in the final end, or very happy about it.
No. It has to feel good, you know. It has to feel right. And these kind of things are, you know, we do stuff that lasts forever. So you're going to have to, you know.
Yeah, you put anyway so much effort into it. So you want to do it 100%, because otherwise it's...
Another aspect of all of this is I've had the privilege of sort of, when I do a project, I feel like I'm a guest in the particular band that I work with, and I have earned their trust, hopefully, and I try to do to the best of my abilities to work on that trust. But given the fact that I've stuck my head into bands, I realized that being in a band is a very, very complicated matter. And I know we have talked about this from time to time, and you have some specific points about this. You know, what does it take to become a band and survive as a band?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't think there is a absolute recipe for that, but
But I mean, if you look at Apocalyptica, you know, it's basically the three of you. That's
yeah, that's the final lineup.
Yeah.
As you say, it's super complicated to be in a band because times change when you have a long career. Everybody's personal life has all aspects. You know, people get families and divorces or whatever. You know, family members die, and there's all the regular life events happening on individuals. And then we have our individual growth and changes, individual problems, all the stuff, and that needs to be merged into combination of kind of a marriage with no benefits and business partnership, and then you operate in the very, very vulnerable field of being creative and close to each other. So it's extremely complicated. And then on top of that, you are a boss when you live in the same bus with all your workers.
Yeah.
So
you're living with your staff.
Yeah, you live with your stuff. You are friends with your stuff, but then when shit's hit the fan, you are the boss, and you have to do the hard stuff. So it is complicated, but key thing for all those challenges is open talking, and then genuine respect to each other. Also curiosity to curiosity creates space for everybody to be who they are. There are very many aspects that I know this kind of touring life is absolutely, it's for 0.00001% of the population probably who can handle it, because there's no private space. So you have to appreciate everybody else's private space. You can't bring your problems in there, but still there needs to be room to get help if you struggle. So the more open the field emotionally is, the better it operates. And then in the final, it comes to the point that when things go very hard, how you operate then.
Yeah.
When
in moments of crisis.
Yes, or moments of crisis, what is your way to operate? Do you just discover it and hide in the bushes, or are you ready to take the hard stuff?
But I mean, all those key aspects of being in a band, how, for example, dealing with a crisis, that of course changes. I think what the beauty and the painful journey of watching Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, is because you get to see them sort of renegotiating the contract.
Yeah.
You know, you form a band when you're teenagers, and there's a kind of a contract, and then they become successful and they're 40 years old or 45, and that contract needs to be renegotiated. Otherwise, the machine won't survive.
Yeah, we ended up in the first crisis when I started to have family. You know, I became father and stuff, and we started to kind of have a little bit different points of interest. We experienced being in the band differently. That's as I say, many times you form a band when you are teenagers. You are not even grown-ups, and then you grow up in different times, and then you kind of that you used to be all about being together and brothers, and then people start to expand their life circle, but everybody doesn't. You know, somebody realizes, okay, there's life outside the band as well, so I want to implement that here, and somebody gets jealous about it because the other person is, it's all about this, you know, this is my life. And so there comes the collision between the personal interests in the band, and that goes on forever because we change, our lives change, and situations change, and then it comes to that: do we accept each other as they are? Are we clinging on the person who you used to be? You know, because I need you. Don't change because I need you as you were. And that's kind of that needs to be killed off. That kind of to the realization that everybody is their own entity. Everybody should have the freedom to be themselves and express themselves as they feel. It's not my place to tell you as my partner in this that how you should handle, you know, this thing. And that's a hard lesson. That's a core problem of all relations, you know, in marriages and family life and friendships and all work societies. That's the core challenge, is to how to collaborate, how to learn to express yourself, and how to learn to listen and try to understand other people's point of view. So it's hard in the band because to create the band is very much about egos. You know, there's so much like you want to show off and you want to kick that ass and, you know, you want to show how you do the things. There's so much that drive when you are young. But then to keep it going, you have to kind of learn to take the ego out.
You need to know when to press on, and you need to know when to switch it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the identity thing. Goes into this old Eastern spiritual teachings, you know, that who am I, and what is the difference with ego mind and your true self. And so I think that you just, there is, that's why I would summarize that there is no certain rule how to do it. You just have to learn it. It's the life lessons that you go through, and some people survive and some people don't.
And I think that you need to, as you said before, you need to be able to handle the road life.
Yes.
If you can't handle that. I had a brief stint as a part of a touring package. I have some of my best memories in life from that, but I realized I'm not cut for it, you know. At least in that time and age, this is 20, 30 years ago. You know, the irregularity and the lack of structure was not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
And the structure of studio life suits me better. And there are people who are completely the other way around.
Yeah.
Studio life is just too demanding, and road life is easier.
I like it, the balance,
Yeah.
because I enjoy the both, but I get bored on both if it's too much of the same. But I've had that over these 3 decades. I've had very, very hard times, you know, that losing my motivation and kind of losing the sense and importance of what I'm doing. And I think that it was always if the mood in the band and the openness in the band was not that great. You know, having 2 kids at home and being far away, and then losing the reasoning for myself that this is really important what I'm doing here, and getting into this kind of feeling of being at the wrong place all the time. So that was really, really hard and led me to drink more and more. It's kind of
But so it sounds like you've been close to really reconsider whether this is what you should do.
Yeah, 2001 I left the band, honestly.
Oh, okay.
That was the first time. I just told the guys that I don't want to tour, because we were kind of in the shape like two captains. I felt I'm the captain because I had created everything, but then there started to become another captain who was trying to lead the ship into the other direction. And I told the guys that I can, you know, do the music and help with that and studio stuff, but I don't want to tour like this. But it didn't create any reaction in the band. It was like everything went going on. Perttu said that if Eicca is not in the band, we don't have a band. But that didn't even raise the proper conversation still, and I was like, fuck this. And then something happened, and Antero had to come to replace Max because he broke his hand. He fell down on stairs on the day off and broke his hand, and Antero came to replace, and suddenly it was so enjoyable being on stage because something of the basic structure broke, and there came a new thing. And then I started to think, I was like, maybe I'm not the first one to leave, if that's the case. And so we kind of broke up for a moment, and then came to the point that then with Perttu and Paavo, three of us, we were like figuring, okay, do we want to continue? That was 2001.
Wow, that's quite early in your career.
Yeah, because that was crazy times. It was crazy times, and so but many times I've been really like, on some point I had to put a stop, like 2012, I think it was. I was after Words Collide album, which we made. The tour was insane. We opened the North American market. We had these big radio hits and everything, and the world was really, really just demanding, and we had to go straight in the next album. I was not ready at all because I was so worn out of the cycle of 2-3 year cycle of that album, and I was just forced to fly to LA to write songs and stuff, and I was really, really, and then when we did that album, and the tour continued, and then some things happened on the record label side, like labels were merging. It was this total chaos in the industry, and I was just like, on some point I put a stop. I'm not going to third time to America because there's no single out and stuff, and I need 1 year off. But my 1 year off, it turned out to make the Wagner Reloaded. But still I was home.
You were home.
That was the point. So there's been these times that I've been really, really hitting the wall hard.
And on average, how many shows does Apocalyptica do a year?
It's hard to say average, but I think this year it's only 80.
Only 80?
Probably. Not even that. I think we did around 20 in Latin America in spring, and now it's 50, maybe 70 shows. Next year is probably going to be closer to 100. So it varies. Heaviest year has been 120, probably 130. But it kind of comes up to 200 travel days a year. So I always felt that when it's over half, it's too much. The balance is off. If it's close to half, it's still... but it's tough to do that for almost 30 years.
But it's like nothing else. That's the life you know.
Yeah, kind of. So, and it's hard to... I've been actually working a lot on that in recent years, that how much do I have to do something that I'm just destined to do? That, or in other words, that because I have this opportunity and everything is laid out very nicely, and we are very lucky and grateful for that. But does that mean that I have to do this forever? So where is the balance actually to balance it with other things that I'm interested? Because you know me.
Yeah,
I get excited on the wide scale of things in life. Even business. I have this meditation, life coaching. I have my jewelry brand. It's like I'm just excited to learn new, and then finding the balance at what is kind of fair.
Yeah. And then some things you lose interest in. You go hardcore in some direction, and then after a while you kind of realize, no, it's...
Yeah, and then it requires courage to actually admit that, okay, this doesn't excite me on this extent. Even everybody tells you that, no, but it's amazing. But still being honest to yourself that, yeah, it's amazing, but I feel like this. And if I'm honest to myself that I need to choose a different way to do this. But luckily with Perttu and Paavo, because between three of us, we have very very deep. I think there's a deep love, you know. We have had super hard times over the years, you know, going up and down, but always because there is the underlying feeling of deep love that we've been able to go on, and now we have been able to create this kind of totally open atmosphere, conversational atmosphere that to everybody can express how do you want to do? How do I want to do it? What feels like it's a good balance and what feels satisfying, that we are not just grinding because we can. Because we have done that in the past. It's like, but we can do this tour. It's like, why do we do this tour? Yeah, but we can do it. And then we are on the road for 4 weeks and I'm wondering there a second, like, what the fuck am I doing here? You know, this doesn't make any sense. I'm so fed up of it. It's 200 shows of the same songs. I don't want to do this. It doesn't spark any excitement. So you probably understand what I mean.
Sure. I tell you, this is one of the reasons why the touring life also didn't appeal to me. Go out on stage and play the same songs every night.
I found that I cracked the code for myself on the times that I was pretty low, like almost 15 years ago. That I went into the gratitude that I'm actually so grateful and lucky that I can do it. I can do this thing, and the audience, I appreciate them. So it doesn't matter how many shows I played, but for them it's a unique experience tonight. And my responsibility and my privilege is to serve them the best. And I went into that. And then also that, okay, it's all about the music. So when I hear the music in my ears on stage, that lifts me up. Yeah. Only problem on that is like sometimes when something is totally off in the sound, I have very hard time. Because I'm like, because I just do it because I love the music. And if the music sounds shit in my ears, it's very hard to enjoy it.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that. I can totally.
But yeah, it's.
But I mean, apart from that, you know, then you have sort of found the core position that you as a stage performer needs to have. That's why I think all stage performers, whatever craft you're in, it needs to be in that space.
Yeah.
Your job is to create a unique experience for me here tonight.
Yes.
I know that you're going to try to do it tomorrow night somewhere else, but I want to walk away from here feeling that what he did tonight was so special. He didn't do it yesterday and he won't do it tomorrow, but for me it was special.
Yeah. So it's like understanding that it's not about me.
No.
The show, it's not about me. Yeah. It's about us all together, and that's been the key.
With the one thing that I took away from the whole pandemic was in the world of music and in the world of sports, that when you were performing without an audience or you were playing a football game without the fans on the stands, you know, the fans is what's most important.
Yeah.
Without them, we're nothing.
I think in all performance, sports is also a performance.
Yeah, sure.
But especially in music, that it's all about the energy we create together with all the people in the room. That's where the magic is. There's no other magic in it, I think. You know, if we go to, we do soundcheck, we play together on stage on soundcheck. We don't really care so much because we know how to play. But when the communication, you know, the certain amount of people gathers in the same space to witness the same thing in their own individual way, individual express, and that when it comes together, that's where the whole reasoning of this whole thing is.
Yeah. Well, this I get, and you have to.
So that's why it's not about me.
No,
you know, that's why it's not about me, my ego, and you know, like, am I feeling good or not? It doesn't fucking matter. No. It's what matters is how they feel, and I go on the flow. Mm-hmm. So I also need a lot of energy from the audience. That's how it circles around.